Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Robbie Basel Show. I'm your host, Robbie Basel. Apologies that this episode is coming out a day later than usual. I had some technical issues with internet and Wi-Fi and all that fun stuff last night. So I was recording last night's episode around the usual time that I do it, and everything just froze and I couldn't get the file back anyway, and I just didn't want to record another one because it would come out too late in the day. So here we are. It's Tuesday, a Tuesday edition episode, and I have a lot to talk about. So let's jump right into our first topic of the day, which will be the Premier League Week 1 recap. And boy, we had an interesting Week 1 to watch, and we're going to kick it off with one of my matches to watch out for, which was City against Burnley, which was on Friday. And what an interesting match. We're going to look at. So, some of the stats, I'm going to just say what they are right now. XG, which is expected goals. Of course, we have goals, shots. We have some other stats. We have shots on target, all that fun stuff. But the clear cut chances, 90% of the better chances went to City, according to this website. It's called understat.com. The XG, which is, of course, expected goals, was 2.4 for City to 0.31. So this already tells how this game went. Holland, I believe, had 2 goals. Yep, he had 2 goals, and Rodri netted a third late. We did see an injury concern. Kevin De Bruyne did get injured on Friday, and sources have said that he will be out for multiple months. So interested to see how that works out for City. You're probably gonna see a lot of Mateo Kovacic now, which I'm very intrigued to see how he fares with Man City. But yeah, we saw a little bit of him in the match against Burnley. We saw some other plays. We saw the debut of Gavardiol, even though he only played for about 5-6 minutes. The interesting thing was, I'm questioning why they started Akanji at center back and not Gavardiol. I mean, maybe it wasn't the right match. Maybe it was something else. I don't know. But they put Gavardiol apparently at left back, which isn't his normal spot, from what I understood from when he signed from Leipzig. I remember him being a center back. That could be just me, or that maybe could be wrong. This could be possibly wrong. I don't know. But a very interesting match. We did see a red card. The first red card of the season was in the first match. And we also saw a much quicker first goal than what we saw last year when I believe the first goal was Arsenal. I don't remember exactly, but nonetheless, Man City get their result. They were in first place for all but not for about, I want to say, not even 24 hours, because there were some other matchups that we had to talk about. And we had to go to Arsenal as they hosted Nottingham Forest. Now, the XG for this match does not justify how good Arsenal was. Arsenal apparently got out XG'd by Nottingham Forest. I mean, I don't agree with that at all. Not from an Arsenal fan perspective, but as an overall viewer perspective. Because, granted, Forest had one good chance and they scored. You gotta give them some credit here. They had 2 shots on target, one of them scored, so that's already a red flag on the Arsenal defense. Also, some more concerns from Arsenal. Jurriën Timber sustained an injury. We do not know how long he will be out for, so, I mean, Arsenal luck, I guess. I mean, everyone thought Arsenal going to the moon, and Arsenal lost a freaking big signing already. Took one match, and now a lot of Arsenal fans' hopes, including mine, are going a little bit downward, and you wonder why. I mean, who will start now at left back? I mean, they had Tomiyasu come in. I'm interested to see. I'm questioning why Gabriel didn't start this match. I mean, I would have had Gabriel and Saliba, like I said, and now Ben White, and now Zinchenko. I believe Zinchenko actually might have been injured. I don't know. I don't know where Zinchenko was. Because I would have had him maybe even over Partey. Partey at right back, they had a spot for him at least. Because I like Thomas Partey, but so the debut of the trio of Odegaard, Rice, and Havertz, no defense. I love it. We saw Bukayo Saka and Eddie Nketiah, who I did not expect to start as the number 9, score a goal. We did not see Florian Balogun at all. Instead, I completely forgot this guy was on Arsenal. We saw Trossard at the number 9 for a little bit in the second half. I believe not even that long. Yeah, it's about 11 minutes or so, but Trossard at the number 9 and Ketty at the number 9 will probably be the situation until Gabby Jesus comes back. Arsenal, their next match is against Palace away, and then they play Fulham. And September 3rd is that first big test, is home to United. You have to imagine that Gabriel Jesus would be back for United or Everton around then. So, I mean, by the way, they have 0.6 XG from corners and 0 from set pieces. So, what a start from Arsenal. But, you know, a lot of interesting stats, of course. I mean, expected goals from the player's perspective. Of course, you got to talk about Bukayo Saka. I mean, he had a great match. He had a goal. The assist went to Martinelli, who I thought looked really good. Gabriel Martinelli on the left wing. I think he's one of them. I don't even think you can call him underrated as a winger anymore. He's just proving himself time and time again that he's one of the more slept-on wingers in the world. I think so, at least. And then we had an assist from Saliba. So, yeah, interesting game from Arsenal. They did concede on a counterattack, which was Arsenal's weakness last year, and they did it again. So they haven't really learned much. But the goal from Taiwo Awoniyi for Nottingham Forest. We did see Matt Turner's debut in the Premier League. Not even the club that he originally signed for in the Premier League, but it was with Nottingham Forest. But there's some other notable results. We'll talk about 2 more games from Saturday, both Sunday matches, and then the matchup for Monday. And then, because that Monday game, I have a lot of thoughts on with United and Wolves. The other one that really caused some concern for me, one of the other matches, was Brighton and Luton Town. Now, first of all, congratulations to Luton Town. You scored a goal in the Premier League. It was a penalty. It was a well-taken penalty. That's the only bright spot they had in the entire match. They lost 4-1 to Brighton. They allowed 4.3 XG. Granted, they had 1.89 themselves, but the goal from Carlton Morris, I mean, the 4 goals were from Adringa, João Pedro, Ferguson, and Solly March. So the midfield actually really holding its own for Brighton. I mean, 3 midfielders scoring, of course, and then we had Ferguson, the substitute, who came on late. Danny Welbeck, had a Danny Welbeck signing for the first time. I haven't seen him in a while, but that was good to see there. But yeah, Brighton really pouring it on. They had a lot of shots. They outshot Luton Town 27-9 and had more shots on target. That stat was 12-3. So Brighton really proving that even without McAllister, without a certain player who just moved a couple very recently, and without their starting goalkeeper from last season, they now have Jason Steele in net. They're still proving that, granted it was against a lower competition, you can argue this team is a championship team still. They still can get the job done, and they had a lot of XG. They looked really good. Good stuff from Brighton, the Seagulls. I believe we're almost in first for about all of an hour because a certain team put up 5 goals and is in first place after week 1, and that was Newcastle United, the Magpies. I believe that's what they're called. Ran Aston Villa off the field after the 10th minute. For Newcastle, they had an opening goal from Sandro Tonali, their number 6. They just signed. I like Tonali. He scored the opening goal, proving in number 6s do score goals. I was skeptical about that, especially with Newcastle's more defensive style. Yeah, even with a more defensive style, arguably with their manager, they went out and put up 5 goals against Aston Villa. But the player that I really thought had a very underrated match was Harvey Barnes' creativity on the wing. He could have had like 3 or 4 assists. Let's look at how he actually did. Because this man from Newcastle, for Newcastle United, Harvey Barnes had an unjustified 1 assist. He could have had 3. I think he could have even had 4. They were creating so many chances because no one wanted to finish in certain parts in the later ends of the match, especially on the counterattack off the left side for Newcastle. I mean, it's a lot of concerns from Aston Villa, but big games from a guy like Alexander Isak, who I think is one of the most slept-on strikers in the game. Alexander Isak, the man from Sweden, he had 2 goals and on 3 shots, 1.16 XG by himself, which is outrageous, by the way. But my goodness, he had a day and a half. You could talk about days from Central to now. Callum Wilson scored a goal. He had more XG in 11 minutes than Isak did the entire match. That's how good some of these players on Newcastle are. And no one was really expecting Newcastle to come out and put up 5 against Aston Villa on Unai Emery's Aston Villa. Got to give Moussa Diaby credit. He did score a goal. Ollie Watkins got snubbed on a couple of chances. Aston Villa couldn't finish. Newcastle did, and that's the tail of the tape as Newcastle goes out, wins 5-1, and will be your leading Premier League side after match day 1. The concern for Newcastle coming up, though, is that they have a very difficult upcoming schedule. Let's just name off some of these teams to see if they're really Champions League, high level. Are they actually legit? They start off away at the Etihad to Man City. Just think that one sink in. And then they host Liverpool. Then go to Brighton. Brentford's not an easy match. And then they get 2 championship teams. West Ham away is not easy. Like, their next month and a half or so is arguably one of the most difficult schedules in all of the Premier League. So, I mean, very interesting stuff here upcoming. I mean, they look good. You got to give them credit. Newcastle looked really good against a team that will be playing European football this year. Can they go up against a team like a City, like a Liverpool, who've added more? Can they go out and produce like how they did against Aston Villa? I don't think they will, especially not against City. But I'm interested to see if when they host Liverpool, and that's a big match I'm going to talk about in a week from Friday, because that match will determine how good some of these teams really are. Newcastle especially. So Saturday was fun. Sunday was weird as hell. And we'll start with Tottenham, who lost Harry Kane and then went out and drew away to Brentford. Now you got to give both these teams some credit here. It was a very balanced game to some extent. We saw goals from Brahim Mbeumo, who has been I believe, at Brentford for multiple seasons, and then Yohan Wissa. I probably said that wrong, but give me a break here, people. Yeah, they had those 2 goals, and then the goals for Tottenham were scored by 2 defenders, which is interesting, with Emerson and then Christian Romero scoring. So, interesting matchups all around. We saw the debut of James Maddison. Son got subbed off for Perisic, and Richarlison did pretty. Let's look at the XG from some of these players, because this is probably going to be really bad. We'll start with Romero, who had the highest XG. Then it was Richarlison with a .23. Son had a .12 expected goals. That is not the Heung-min Son I know and I've watched for years. So Brentford must have really held them down. I was not able to watch this matchup. But you want to talk about a dude who had a field day? It was Mbeumo. 3 shots, 1.3 expected goals. I mean, he almost had as much XG by himself as Tottenham did in the entire match. So Mbeumo got it done, but unfortunately it was a draw for the Bees against Spurs. And another unfortunate draw followed that, and this was going to be my match of the weekend. And I think there was controversy everywhere, and this match had a little bit of it, I believe, as well. We saw a lot of interesting choices start the match, particularly with Darwin Núñez starting. Actually, no, Darwin Núñez came off the bench, which I thought was... I read the whole XG thing wrong. Harvey Elliott started over Jota, which I thought was wrong. And then they followed that up with... Salah started and Elliott replaced him, and then Jota started over Darwin Núñez. I like that idea. I don't like Darwin Núñez very much, but I still think he can prove himself. We saw Luis Diaz score for Liverpool. Chelsea scored courtesy of Diassi. I mean, I didn't watch enough of this match to really have an opinion. I know there was some controversy somewhere, and that's on me. But Nicholas Jackson actually the highest XG. It wasn't Desai. I was saying his raw name the whole time, Axel Desai. Desai. I don't freaking know anymore. Nicholas Jackson had .84 XG and didn't score. 4 shots total. The highest expected assist from them, by the way, was Ben Chilwell, who did not have actually, he did have an assist. He assisted the goal. Reece James also had a pretty decent match, apparently, so not bad from Chelsea from the Liverpool perspective, based on some of these stats alone, I mean, Luis Diaz scored the goal. He had almost 1 XG by himself. Salah had a .2. He had the assist, so that's good enough for them. But Szoboszlai had a good match. I do remember this. Szoboszlai really involved in the match. McAllister looked okay. He had an okay match. But if we can look at, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think of him. He is very interesting day as a whole. But the reason I want to talk about Chelsea now is that they are going at it in the transfer market because they have spent 115 million pounds. I will say it again, 115 million pounds. One of the highest transfers, if not the biggest transfer in terms of value in Premier League history for Moises Caicedo from Brighton. And just to put that in perspective, Brighton made, in terms of how much they bought Caicedo for, how much they sold him, they've made over 110 million euros. I believe they've made about 150 something euros this transfer market alone, not including the Sanchez deal. So it's really like 170 something million. They did their job. They knew Caicedo was going to leave, and they did it very well. I will give them a lot of credit here. They did the right thing and sold Caicedo for good money. It's crazy. There's memes across the internet saying that they're going to go to like Uruguay or Colombia and do FM everything and just go to like the second division and find a Premier League quality player in about 5 seconds and spend no money and then sell him for 60 million in a couple of years. That's basically what they did with Caicedo. I mean, who knows? Maybe they do it again. I don't know. I mean, they won their opening match against a freaking equivalent of a championship team, but Brighton have done it right so far. But Chelsea, back to them, they also signed Romeo Lavia, who's going to have a deal done from Southampton, the relegated Southampton side. And I believe there's in on another transfer, but I do not know the exact details on that one. So we head to our last match of the day to talk about, and this match just drives me crazy. It's United Wolves, and this is an unjustified loss for Wolves. Now, for those who don't know, if I could find it, I don't think it's with me. I'm a licensed referee, so I do have like some knowledge of like the specific rules for some of these items. And being a former goalkeeper myself, I think I should have a pretty good opinion on this. The punch by Onana that made contact with the forward for Wolves should have been a penalty. I know United fans are going to say, what the hell are you talking about? Some people are going to be questioning as well. You don't go swinging your arm like this on a punch. That's not the way they teach you how to do it. I'll show you actually real quick. If you can hear me, it's two fists punching forward. It's not this, like swinging your arms like a madman. It's two fists punch forward or one fist punching forward. Not like that. And since it's an unnatural motion, that should have been a penalty. It was to the head and neck area. Granted, if it was a regular punch, that's not a foul. It's a natural play. It's a goalkeeper-like motion. But since it's how unnatural it is, swinging your arm like an idiot, that should have been a penalty, and Wolves did get robbed. And of course, the referees are now reffing this coming weekend, proving that the call should have been a penalty. I don't know how they missed that, but United get bailed out again, courtesy of a goal by Rafa Varane. Now, granted, Wolves look better than I thought they would. They had 1.4 XG, but I mean, if you looked at Wolves by themselves, big matches from Mateus Cunha, who I did not think of as a big-time player, Pedro Neto, Fabio Silva, and Chan Huang all had decently big matches themselves. Of course, Pedro Neto had 0.3 XG and 0.63 expected assists, so really an unjustified result for Wolves. But United, they did the bare minimum, and I will say the bare minimum to win this match. Granted, the Varane goal was good. Antony apparently had a better match than Rashford, which is concerning. But, yeah, short and sweet. That should have been a penalty. I know United fans are gonna be like, "What the hell are you talking about? You don't swing your arms like that on a goalkeeper move. It's this, not this, and it should have been. It should have been this." So, I mean, it's that simple. It should have been a yellow card and a penalty. Dead simple. It's an unnatural motion. I mean, it's technically denying a goal scoring opportunity in illegal fashion. You could argue for multiple different things, but I'm getting pissed off. I'm done talking about that match. That match just drives me insane for how like frustrating. For one, I am not heavily biased against United. I'm not. I'm just saying what it's like from an official's perspective on what the call should have been. Watching it back multiple times. I reviewed this thing for hours yesterday and like slow mode it. I think it was about an hour or a little bit more than an hour. Like where you slow mo it is like where is he trying to go? He completely like comes across. That should have been a penalty. End of discussion. After that insanity, we had Neymar just going to Saudi. I don't get it. Well, I didn't get it in the beginning until I realized how much this dude's making. 400 million package for Neymar. For context, Neymar's the highest transfer ever at 226 million. That's the highest transfer fee ever from Neymar when he went from Barca to PSG. Which questions you even more, how the hell did Barcelona not have money? Maybe it's all they threw all that money into renovating the Camp Nou, which is a travesty in its own. PSG get 90 million from the Saudi club Al Hilal. $263 million move from Barcelona to PSG in the summer 2017. Remains the most expensive transfer in football history. It's a 2-year deal for Neymar. Could we see him in MLS after this? I don't know. I mean, I'll give Saudi Arabia some credit right now. They're doing it better than what China did, and that's why the Chinese league failed miserably, which they ran out of money. They spent too much on the wrong players. You go out and get freaking Cristiano Ronaldo. You get Neymar Zito. You get freaking, I don't know, a lot of other competent players. Like Ruben Neves, if you want to say it the Portuguese way. You've gone out and got other big time stars. They're doing it right. MLS, same thing. I mean, they went out and got Lionel Messi and the entire the retirement home of Barcelona to come with him with Jordi Alba and Busquets. I mean, they've done something right. And by the way, Inter Miami has looked great since then. So Messi's proving his worth in MLS. He's really enjoying himself. I've never seen Messi smile that much in a decent amount of time. So Messi enjoying himself there, but Neymar, this just proves that we're starting to see the clear trend of out with the old, in with the new, with the generations now. It sucks. It's just the way it is. From that football insanity to the NFL's preseason insanity. And you're probably wondering, this guy's wearing Zach Wilson. What is wrong with you? And I'll tell you, Zach Wilson looked good. Kinda. The yardage doesn't explain it, but his passing accuracy looks so much better. I mean, he went 14 to 20. That alone is good. It's over 100 yards. That's good enough for me. I'm a very I'm a minimalist. I don't need this dude to go crazy. Do I wish it was over 200 yards? Yeah, but do you know who he's throwing to? His leading receiver was Michael Carter out of the backfield. Then it was Abek. He does not have an actual wide receiver. I don't think, unless this dude's a receiver. He's not. He did not have an actual receiver catch for more than 17 yards in this game. So that just proves that he's no one to throw to in this, when the way they were playing this game. But Israel Abanikanda, Izzy, looks good. 12 for 56. He caught some passes out of the backfield. He almost had 90 total yards. It's pretty good for how much they were giving him touches. Tim Boyle threw 2 touchdowns and an interception. He's going to be the third string. We all know this. The Panthers side, my God, Bryce Young. I talked about this on Friday, that we could see a reality check for some of the rookie quarterbacks. Bryce Young, not the greatest showing. 4 of 6 or 21 yards. Granted, he didn't play very much. Makes sense. He's their starting quarterback. But, jeez. That O-line's going to kill him. Like, the Jets' defense is good. I mean, but when you have the... Let's just go through the defense and see, like, notable players who would go out and go after your quarterback. You have Jermaine Johnson was there. Will McDonald's played. Bryce Huff. Solomon Thomas, I guess. And then you just had a big day from a guy like Zaire Barnes, the rookie linebacker, the 6th-round pick. And which makes me like, you know what? We actually got a gem maybe in the late rounds. I don't know. But when you're going against some of these defenders and you question, let me even add more fire to this. You can make the argument that he didn't have anyone to throw to. He had Derek Wright, I guess. You were getting annihilated by the Jets defense. Like, their next preseason game is not easier. It's the Giants, who I think have who have not as great of a defense, but I think they still have a decent defense. That'll be the real test for Bryce Young, the Giants. I mean, the Giants are trying to prove themselves, but you need Young to look better. There's one throw that was very inaccurate. I thought old Zach Wilson was back at quarterback, but the Panthers didn't look very good, and the scoreline proves it. Another rookie quarterback played on Thursday, and that was C.J. Stroud. Oh, Lord. That wasn't good. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, before I go into C.J. Stroud, Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets. I almost forgot about this. This is my next topic. It's on my list, with my stats, and then my list. My thoughts on this. Yesterday, you probably saw my Instagram if you didn't, that I was skeptical about signing Dalvin Cook. Why sign him? We have Michael Carter, which is not the craziest thing ever, but you drafted Abani Konda. You have Bam Knight and Breece Hall. Why do you need a 5th running back? And when I look back at it more, I think I view this totally wrong. Here's why. Dalvin Cook has proven before. The Vikings actually, I'll say from this. The Vikings proved that you can have multiple running backs, and the Falcons did this too, where you can have multiple running backs in a scheme like the Vikings, where they threw the ball a lot to Justin Jefferson. He almost won. I mean, he's an NFL Offensive Player of the Year candidate every year now. And with the type of offense that the Vikings were running, Dalvin Cook still got a lot of touches. Alexander Mattison got a lot of touches. Now, the Jets are going to have to give a lot of touches to Dalvin Cook, who, by the way, is still hurt. So you won't see him in the preseason, most likely. You'll have Breece Hall, whose setbacks actually may be worse than we thought. Dalvin Cook also coming back from an injury. And then you can give the ball to Bam Knight, Abani Konda, Carter. I think what's going to happen now is if the Jets carry 3 running backs, you're going to see the one's going to be Hall, then Dalvin, and then Bam Knight, with Abani Konda on the practice squad and possibly the cutting of Michael Carter. I love Mike Carter. Apparently he's a great guy to be around, but I don't know. I don't know what place they have for Mike Carter anymore. I'm going to be honest with you. But the Jets did sign Dalvin Cook, and now I think it's a better move than I originally thought it was going to be. Jets had another start of their offense, and listen, if you're a fan of the Jets like I am, you can't complain about more offense, because in some of these practices, the Jets' offense has looked really bad. So, but back to your regularly scheduled game breakdown with the Patriots and the Texans. The Texans, C.J. Stroud didn't look good. He threw 1 interception on 2 of 4 passing for 13 yards. I mean, Case Keenum looked solid. Davis Mills actually looked competent. So we saw all 3 main quarterbacks for the Texans. In a depth chart that I think it's going to be C.J. Stroud, then Mills, then Keenum. The Texans' quarterback room is very interesting because you have three guys that have all started games, like more than like 10 games in their career, I believe, who have been starters for at least, I'll put it this way, two starters who have started at least one full season for a team. Case Keenum was good on the Vikings. He's been good on some multiple teams. Davis Mills was the starter last year for the Texans, a team that was running itself into the ground the entire way. And I thought Davis Mills was going to be traded because he self-purposely ruined the tank for the Texans to not get Bryce Young. But C.J. Stroud, I think, is just as good as Young, but taller. In all of this, the Texans are not as bad of a spot that some people may think that they are, because they actually have a receiver that could be emerging. That is Tank Dell, the wide receiver. So Tank Dell, the 23-year-old wide receiver, he played his college at Houston, most notably, but he also played at Independence Community College and Alabama A&M. He is really good. Granted, it's one game. Can't overreact to one game sometimes, but 5 for 65 is pretty good in your opening game when you're catching passes from C.J. Stroud, Davis Mills, and Case Keenum. It's pretty decent. And that was probably the only notable performance that I could think of from the Texans, because they did win this game. The touchdowns were caught by Alex Bachman, I don't know. And then, of course, he had the touchdown from Tank Dell, yeah. And then we had a rushing touchdown for Dalton Keene, who I believe is a tight end. Yeah, he's a tight end. So this game was an interesting one. We saw Devin Singletary. Mike Boone got most of the carries. He had the most yards for the Texans. We saw shouts from my man Dare Ogunbowale. That's because of the name. I love it. But for the Patriots, we saw, well, multiple meme players, beginning with my guy Trace McSorley, the Penn State legend. But we saw the emergence of an interesting piece that could be emerging one day for the Patriots. And that's Malik Cunningham. Malik Cunningham went 3 or 4 for 19 yards, but was good in the rushing game. I mean, I think he could be played in multiple roles. And that's what they like about Malik Cunningham, is that the former quarterback from Louisville, I think he could be involved in this offense in multiple different ways, just as like the Eagles originally imagined Jalen Hurts being. This could be the time for Malik Cunningham. Granted, Bailey Zappi did start the game, went 12 of 14 for 79 yards. I like this quarterback room more with the addition of Malik Cunningham, because he offers something that the other two quarterbacks don't. That's even more mobility. I mean, Malik Cunningham, you want to look into some numbers? Let's look into some numbers from his college days. He's 6'1", for reference. And when I originally saw him play, years ago now, I thought he was the reincarnation of Lamar Jackson. I mean, when you rush for 1,000 yards in a season as a quarterback, you got to be good. His lowest rushing season was 482 yards in 2019, where he ran for an average of 4 yards a carry, which was the lowest he had in college. He's around like a 5 yards type, 5.1 yards average per carry. I mean, and then you want to look at the passing game. He's not the best passing threat in the world. His most was 2,900 yards in 13 games in 2021, which was about 8.7 yards per attempt. So he did throw 19 touchdowns. He has had turnover problems, especially in 2020 when he was a regular junior. Went through 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. So Malik Cunningham is not that bad of a quarterback coming out of college. And with what he brings to the table at 6'1", 200, and he can run, he's a 1,000-yard rusher at quarterback. He adds something that New England doesn't currently have, and that's more mobility at quarterback. So Malik Cunningham, I think, is going to be a menace on the Patriots. And speaking of needing more weapons for the Patriots, they added a running back as well, as they signed 3-time Pro Bowler Ezekiel Elliott. I love this move for New England. You all thought that Dalvin Cook was going to be this. I thought Dalvin Cook was going to be this move, and Zeke's going to be going on the Jets. I think both teams are going to be happy with the players that they got. So you duo up Zeke and Ramondre Stevenson. that team is going to be better offensively. Now, will it be a first place division title winning spectacular offense? Absolutely not. You have to be real with yourself and understand that the Patriots receiving game is not even better, I don't think, than the Falcons. Possibly, because at least they have a real number one in Drake London. But, I mean, of course, Kyle Pitts and all this other stuff. But, I like this, though. They're trying to go with that ground and pound style. They have Stevenson. Why not add another one with Ezekiel Elliott? I love the intent. Will this elevate their offense enough to push them into playoff contention? I don't think so. But this addition is actually going to be pretty significant. Because I don't even know. I don't even want to know. I mean, I believe they have Damian Harris. They have the other players they have. They have Montgomery, Pierre Strong, and Kevin Harris. Yeah, I think making this signing was needed. So, the former quarterback from running back, from the Cowboys, he heads to New England, and I think that's another very solid move in free agency as of recently. More games to talk about. We are going to go to. Oh my God, I'm gonna bring this up. Jacksonville, Dallas, and we saw the GOAT of the preseason. A guy who I think should make the Jaguars team on this one play alone. That's Nathan Rourke. The quarterback went 9-17 for 153 yards. They're originally from Canada. Let's take a look at him in his career. 25 years old, 6'1", 210, menace to society. I can put him as that because if you watch the highlights from this game, he broke multiple sacks and threw an absolute dot to the corner of the end zone. This guy should be over C.J. Beathard in the depth chart, no questions asked. But in all seriousness, Jacksonville actually threw a lot of starters on the field, which I don't hate it. It's just weird with who they threw out on the field. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, okay. ETN, though, with his injury history. The wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, played. Christian Kirk. Why are these dudes playing? Jacksonville, figure it out. Why are you trying? I like that the intent of them going against competition ahead of the season starting, yes, but in week 1? I don't know. I don't know. A lot of this confuses me. I'll be dead honest with y'all. Saw Devin Lloyd play, and that was really the big player there. But Jacksonville won. The Cowboys threw Will Grier, who looked really good. I'll give him that. 22-31. They threw the ball a lot. We also saw Deuce Vaughn, the really short running back for Dallas, score a touchdown. So shout out to him. He went 8 for 50, 6.2 yards a carry. Will Grier threw 2 touchdowns and an interception, going sub 200 yards, went 22-31 for 199. Cooper Rush also played 10-12 for 83. But the big day receiving was for John Stevens Jr., who I've never heard of before. I don't think you've ever heard of him before, but apparently he's had a heck of a camp. The tight end / wide receiver. He's 6'5", 220, so maybe he's the diamond in the rough that the Cowboys need. I don't know. But we'll maybe go into one more game, if I could find a really good one. Did they play him in this game? So, yeah, this is the game to talk about. We're going to go into... we'll go into 2 more games. We'll break down Anthony Richardson. After this one, Chicago and Tennessee. Now, you're going to immediately look and say Justin Fields went 3 of 3 for 129, 2 touchdowns. And say, oh my God, he must be slinging it down the field. Both touchdowns were off screen passes. So, yards per attempt. I mean, if there's... Listen, DJ Moore caught his first career pass and scored a touchdown for his first career pass, not on the Panthers, with the Bears. And he ran for 62-yard touchdown. Khalil Herbert, same deal, 56-yard touchdown. We saw Khalil Herbert who may even be the number one running back there, honestly. I don't know what they're going to do with him. We saw a lot of different quarterbacks. The Bears, I don't know. You should not be hyped over 3-3 for 129 when they're really off screen passes. So both touchdowns were off screens. I don't think you can really go with the hype on that one. But let's look at the Titans, because this is the team that I was more worried about. And we saw an emergence from Malik Willis. He actually threw for yards. I've never seen this before. I'm as shocked as this as Zach Wilson when he played against Carolina. Granted, Carolina's defense is better than Chicago's, so the stats will be different. But Malik Willis went 16 of 25 for 189. He did throw a pick, but he also ran 3 times for 22 yards and scored a touchdown. That is very good. That was better than what Will Levis did. Will Levis threw a terrible interception. He looked like Zach Wilson in the pocket. I'm sorry I'm bringing it up a lot. I'm just wearing the jersey. That's just bringing it all to mind. But my goodness. I mean, Will Levis looked okay, but not anything spectacular. Maybe that's why I was selected in the second round. I don't know. One more game. And it was going to be with one that they call Anthony Richardson. 7 of 12 for 67 yards and interception. Granted, he's playing on the Colts. They're not spectacular. We saw Sam Ehlinger play well. Gardner Minshew went 6 of 6 passing. So the Colts didn't look bad against the Bills at all. We saw Malik Turner, Isaiah McKenzie, former Buffalo Bill, catch some passes. But not anyone. Michael Pittman caught 1 pass for 9 yards. I was about to say not anyone that notable. And then you see Michael Pittman being there. Defense, you didn't see anyone that crazy. But the Bills saw Matt Barkley start a quarterback and actually looked pretty good. 14-15 for 172. So that's an interesting thing to know for. James Cooks ran for a touchdown. We saw Latavius Murray play a football game again, which he was the leading non-quarterback rusher for the Buffalo Bills. And the leading receiver for them, you guessed it, Andy Isabella. So, a very interesting game as well, but it was a very interesting episode to talk about because we have football and football. For whatever you want to call soccer, we had both the NFL and the Premier League to talk about. Those are the big 2 topics of the day. We'll return with normal schedule for Friday with the next episode of the Robbie Basel Show. Of course, we're going back to Friday and Monday. Maybe the schedule changes in the future. I don't know. You guys will be the first ones to find out. That's for sure. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you like what you see, hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would be greatly appreciated for me. And if you have any comments or what things that I can improve on personally, other than guests, because I am bringing those on in a couple of videos now, it feels like, then let me know in the comments, because I'm open to changing some things here and there. If you guys have any good advice, I am totally down to listen to you guys. That's for sure. But for now, thank you guys once again so much for watching. I'm Robbie Basel, saying good night. I'll see you guys Friday. Bye, everyone.